You get it, right? It's funny because we all get to that point sometimes where we start to feel frustrated and angry, where we start to just feel, ah. Hopefully I phrased that correctly. Do you see this can? This is one of my favorite drinks now. V8 energy drink. It's kind of like drinking Monster, except, not as unhealthy for you. Like there's no added sugar and there's all kinds of vitamins and stuff. It's V8, so you're getting some vegetables and whatnot. Really, really good. But the can itself, I don't know if you can see it, the can itself is tinted. Right? It is. You know what that tells me? That tells me that the drink inside is probably exactly the same drink as it would be from a regular can. Exactly the same. It's not hurt, it's not changed, it's not harmed. The bottle itself is, and maybe I should go get a cup to pour it in to make it easier to drink. I don't know. It looks like I'm going to have trouble with fitting my mouth on it. But you know what it doesn't mean? That I should throw away the can. That I should throw away the drink. Maybe there is a point where this can gets so busted, so broken, that I should throw it away. I should just throw the can away, even if the drink inside is still good. Because I can take the drink out, and then I can throw it away, and I can get a new can, and I can put my drink in the new can and have good, happy V8 juice from a new can. And everything's fine. When we go through our lives, that's kind of what happens to us. We're a lot like this can. We pick up some bruises and some bumps along the way, and it leaves us with some marks. Women tend to be very critical of those marks on their own bodies. Maybe on each other's bodies too, I don't know. I, on the other hand, see them as battle scars. And not in a bad way. Each time that I look at this spot on my arm right here, I see where I made a memory with somebody that was, the memory was magnificent, wonderful. Not because of the moment, not because of the way it happened, but because she and I have told that story probably 100 times to 1,000 different people. And each time I experienced it again and I enjoyed it again in a new way. Each time I got to experience it with a new person in a new way, and maybe even new people, to see how they reacted and what they thought was funny and what they thought was cool. And I don't consider it a negative about my life at all that I have this scar here. Now I have more scars. A lot of them. Not a lot, but a lot. More than an average person, I would say. And each of those scars tells its own story too. But what I know is that anything that happens to my packaging doesn't have to affect me as a person or who I really am.
Game paused.
I don't know why someone paused the game.
Game resumed.
I'm glad he resumed it because I didn't even know where that button was. I have a choice in my life in regards to scars of how I see them, how I choose to perceive them. How I see them and how I choose to perceive them, rather. I apologize. I have a habit of speaking quickly. It's something that a lot of people have, especially these days, because they found that other people don't really have the time, energy, and focus to offer to listening to them. Time, energy, and focus. I think if we combine those, the word we could use would be interest. A lot of people don't have interest in listening to what you have to say. They're instead waiting for their own turn to speak. And that's what they're excited about. That's what's going on in their mind while they're looking at you and nodding along and pretending like they care about what it is you have to say. Which isn't to say that they don't care. It's simply to say that a lot of people these days have not gotten the opportunity to express themselves as often as they needed to or in the ways that they needed to. And due to that, they kind of have a backlog of things they want to express. But if that backlog sits for too long, it goes from being a backlog of things I want to express or things you want to express into being a pressure, a need to express something, anything. Just express, just express, just express. That's what your brain is doing. It's yelling at you constantly to express yourself whenever it is not getting the creative outlet, the expression that it needs, right? And let's be clear, speech is creative. Words are creative. No two people speak exactly alike. That makes language an art and not a science. Which is why, even though I feel like I've come close to mastering the science of language, I still learn new and exciting things about it every single day by interacting with other people who have a different style of art than I do. And all of this is important because our entire life, everything we go through, is, hear me out, the can. We are everything inside of that can. We are our memories, our experiences, the lessons that we have learned, the things that we have felt, the things we are going to feel. We are given so very, very much in this world. And sometimes we lose things too. But the things that we lose are much like the can. They may reach a point where they are not fixable, where instead they need to be replaced, where instead it needs to be starting over. It's possible. It is. I won't deny it. But if that's the case, then everything that has to be stripped away and broken is the outside, the physical, the life itself, right? The shell of who we are, the can. What God can save is the core of who we are. And this is how we get to heaven and hell, and why it's so important that we talk about it. Heaven and hell do not exist after death. Heaven is a state of being in which you are one with the Creator, one with God. Hell is a state of being in which you do not know God. I am speaking that from personal experience and also through biblical evidence that we're not going to explore right now because it isn't the right time. I don't want to get distracted on that. I want us to talk about this really important concept. You are not going to go to hell if you don't believe in God. You are not going to be punished after your life is over because you chose the wrong religion. But what may happen, what is likely to happen, is that at some point the can that holds you is going to be recycled. Your body will go back to the earth, and your spirit will go back to God. And when that happens, God will take your spirit in whatever state that it is in, and God will take you to his workshop and say, child, we have some things to get through, but we're going to do it together. There are parts of your life that were good, and there are parts of your life that were bad. He says, if you trust me, we will very, very quickly fix this. And then you'll be ready to come. You can spend time with me here if you'd like. In whatever exists, whatever dimension God exists in, whatever plane of existence you're able to see him in once you, or see them in once you have died. And it'll be your choice. If you want to go back to a new life, you may. Everyone does eventually. The contents of who you are will be poured into a new can. And you'll have more lessons to learn, and you'll change throughout the process, and you'll become something better and different. This is normal, it's natural. It's the liquid being saved, no matter what. We are the liquid. That's what God is not worried for. Worried is the wrong word. God doesn't worry. That's what God is fighting for. That's what God is fighting for. That we would be saved. Because no matter what your beliefs are, I promise you this. We all came from the same higher being. We all came from one shared consciousness which thought us into existence, which willed us into existence, and did so, so they could live in relationship with us. We are the ones who are not yet ready to live in that relationship, and we are being taught and trained and aided as we learn how to improve, how to get closer and closer to being good. That's our purpose. And it doesn't matter if your spirit is one that needs one single can to live through, and by the end of it, you will have mastered everything and become... I want a word for living in heaven, and I don't have it. I don't know if there is a word for that. Perhaps we should make one. You will become... I don't know. I can't think of one. We'll get back to this. You will live in heaven for the rest of your life once you've accepted that God is real, that God is with you, that you can trust them, and also gone through and started doing the things that are necessary to save your own life. Save your own life. And I say save your own life in terms of a regular life is pretty boring. A regular existence is pretty difficult. It's kind of crap that those go through together, isn't it? Like, why does it have to be both difficult and boring? That doesn't seem like a good combination, does it? But that's existence without God, right? That's what that is. It's existing without God. It's hell. Heaven is there too. Heaven is here too with all of us. It's being offered. You probably haven't seen it much, and I don't blame you for that. I'm just saying you probably haven't. And the reason for that is most likely because no one's been really, really trusting in God yet. Everyone's been trusting in what they've learned about God, which is something they were taught by religion. God is well above and beyond religion, and we need to learn from the source. Don't take my word for anything. Don't take my word for anything. I am trying to give you guidance onto a path that exists. But that path doesn't exist because I wanted it to exist, or because I made it exist, or because I know about it, or anything of the sort. That path was given to us by Jesus Christ, by God Himself in human form. And that path is all about trust and love. And the more you surrender to your trust, the more reasons God gives you to love them. The more that you love them, the more you want to express that love towards all of their children. All of their children. Because if God loved that child enough to look at all of creation and say, you know what's missing right now? You know what's missing? I need another child. I need a child who is just like that one. I want you. I'm going to add you to creation. That's what God said. He didn't make you on accident. You aren't some random mistake.
Complete.
God looked at creation and said, I'm going to add this person to it. It's going to be better because of it. That's pretty freaking cool, isn't it? That's pretty freaking cool. If God loved you enough to want you, then you are more than good enough for me. So rather than trying to decide if you have value or not in my life, what I want to do is try to discover the value that you bring that I don't know about yet, and offer in return to you my value in whatever way I can, even if it's something I don't know I'm capable of now, because through God all things are possible. Do you believe that? Do you believe that through God all things are possible? We write it everywhere. I mean, it's in every courthouse in the United States that I'm aware of. It is in some way, shape, or form on every form of currency we have. And yet, every time there's a decision to be made between trusting God and not, people generally choose not to. I'm not saying every time, I'm not saying there's no exceptions, I'm just saying in general, people tend to choose not to trust God when they're given the opportunity to trust God or do something else. And I do not blame anyone for that one little iota. And this is why. It is very, very difficult to trust what you cannot see, and especially when the way that you're being told you should trust it comes from a group of people who have chosen to behave opposite of what they preach. There is no one final answer for everything in life that's going to make everyone unite overnight and come together. But you know what there is? There is a promise that God made. There's a promise that God made. God said, I am going to bring my children home. And that's that. For God, it was that simple. It is that simple. Maybe it's not done yet. Maybe it hasn't worked all the way yet. Maybe we've still got a long way to go, right? But for God, the moment they decided, it became true that it would happen. Do you get what I mean? God isn't like us. God isn't unsure or weary or considering that maybe things could go wrong. God doesn't say, well, maybe I shouldn't go do this new thing because what if it goes wrong? What if I get a new job and it's worse than my current job? What if I get a new boyfriend and they're worse than my current boyfriend? What if I put up with these beatings because the next husband could beat me even worse? For God, there is none of that. for God, there is the absolute certainty that what they decide will happen, that what they prophesize will come into being. And anyone who is scared that will not happen probably doesn't understand how great God is. If all 8 billion humans, 7 billion, whatever we've got, every one of us billion humans on Earth were to choose to act against God together at the same time, all in focusing whatever, I don't even know what that would look like, but just say it could happen, right? Do you think we'd stand a chance against God? I don't. I know we wouldn't. I know we wouldn't even come close. I know that there could be a billions of us, and it still wouldn't be enough. It couldn't be, because God is not like humans. God is absolute. Absolute. And this is so important to understand because it relates to everything else that we talk about. God doesn't make mistakes. You are not a mistake. I do not care if your earthly parents intended you or not. God intended you from the beginning of time. Excuse me, God intended you from before the beginning of time. You are not a mistake. You cannot be. And if you're going, well, you're only saying that because you hope I'll agree with you or I'll convert or whatever. I do not care if you believe me. I do not care if you worship God the way that I worship God. I am not concerned about your spirituality or your life, because I already know that when you die, your can is what dies, and the liquid that is who you really are will be saved by God and refined and adjusted and corrected and healed and regenerated until you are a perfect creation again. And then, God will do whatever's next for your life. Your soul's life, your spiritual life, the one that goes on forever and ever and ever, right? We get to heaven on earth and we get to experience it, which is wonderful. And the faster we get there, the more we get to experience before we die. But as far as I know, people are still going to die, right? God didn't say, I'm going to give you eternal life on earth. He just said, I'm going to give you eternal life. And I believe this is the form that takes. Our souls, our spirits live on forever with God, regardless of whether or not we believe in God. I do not for 1 second believe that there is a hell or has ever been a hell other than that which has been created by man through the absence of God. So, yeah, I'd say it tastes just the same as if the can weren't bent. So I guess whatever it is that's affected you in life, whatever it is that's affected me in life, it has not reduced my value in any way, shape, or form. I am not a horrible person. I am a child of God. I am made in their image. I have purpose and I have value. And beyond that, I have beauty. I'm not talking about skin deep beauty. I don't feel like I was blessed with that. I was blessed with depth of understanding, with joy in simple things, and with knowing what really matters to me in life, with knowing what I really, really, really value. And that is inner beauty that I can experience anytime I want, anywhere that I am. Nothing in this world will ever take it from me. Nothing in this world could ever take it from me. And that is one of the many, many things that I am grateful to God for. So, have a good night.